And everybody, welcome to the first kind of test run, Otis, of the Arkansas Football Report here live at Torchies and Rogers. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. It's kind of a test run, and so we've had some difficulties. We've had some technical difficulties. We've had some great experiences. Great food so far, Otis. What taco did you get tonight?
Crossroads, I think it was called.
Crossroads, yeah, that one's a really good one too.
That was without the jalapenos. So.
I don't blame you
I'm a
there.
rep, man. I can't do the jalapenos.
Man, the jalapenos, they kind of get me too as well. I ended up getting the fajitas, the beef fajita steak tacos. Those were great too. Got some queso over here too. Marcus and Rob have been really hooking us up tonight, and so really want to thank them for everything they've done so far for us. Also, whenever you guys come up here to Torchies and Rogers or at the location, make sure to stop by their full service bar as well. They've got TVs on TVs and taps, and I'm telling you what, great beer in the back as well. So make sure to come check us out or Torchies out at any time. They got breakfast tacos, Otis, if you're in the mood for some breakfast tacos too as well. So I want to thank, again, Torchies is our proud sponsor for football this year, and it's going to be a place that we're going to get very familiar with, and we're going to be here for quite a while.
Yeah, it's great. My first time to be here, so I'm not going to lie to you. So it's a really neat place and really good.
Yeah, so SEC Media Day started yesterday, and that's the big, I guess the big guy for yesterday was Lane Kiffin. We all know that Monty had passed away on Thursday of last week. Weren't quite sure exactly what type of a Lane Kiffin we were going to get at the podium. He was really reserved. He was, you could tell he was kind of fighting back some tears on some of the things that remembering his dad. And so that's one of the things that I took away from it as well. But he was very businesslike after that, after remembering his dad a little bit.
Yeah, Monty was a great coach. I remember when he was at Arkansas, and one of the best defensive coordinators I've ever seen here. And he was a great one, man. I mean, Lou Holtz hired him, and and he was a great coach.
Yeah, he was architect with the Tampa Tube down in Tampa Bay with John Gruden. Whenever, that's one of the things that Frank Broyles always tried to do was he was not trying to bring in coaches that were going to be here for 10, 15 years. He was trying to get guys that were going to be here for 2 or 3 years and then out the door. And that's been well documented. And, Monty was one of those guys.
Yeah, I don't know if that works now, but it did back then. It was a hot thing back then. He'd hire these young guys, and they'd work here 1 or 2 years. Barry Switzer, Jimmy John, all these guys would then become coaches somewhere else.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that works that way now, but back then that was the thing. And Broyles had a great vision of the future. He got Arkansas in the SEC.
Yeah,
early. He just had a great vision. He always talked about there'd be a super league someday. There'd be like 60, 70 teams. I mean, he was talking about this in the 90s. I mean, way before it became facts and stuff. And he had Broyles had a great vision, I guess is what I'm trying to say, for the future. He could see and project what the future held in college athletics. And that was amazing.
It was. Also, everybody, whenever you guys want any of the up-to-date information as far as recruiting news goes for football, for basketball, for baseball, go over to hogville.net, and I'm going to throw that QR code up here too as well in just a second. So that way you guys can scan that with your phones and, go over there anytime you want to. And let's get this one out. Yeah, that's the one right there. That one, that right there, that QR code goes right to Kirk's Corner. So if they get their phone and they hit up that QR code, that goes automatically to Hogville to where all of your information's at, Otis.
Okay. And there's not been a whole lot of football recruiting with the coaches on vacation and stuff, but there will be. And they've got a picnic coming up here in a couple of weeks, when its dead period ends. And they'll have recruits one last time on campus. And so it should be fun. We'll see who all shows up. But it should be a good weekend for Arkansas, that Saturday picnic at the U of A.
Yeah, I missed that one last year. That was one of the things that I was kind of lamented a little bit because I really felt like I should have been there at that because, started hearing the stories of you talking with different players and stuff, and I thought that's great content that we could get. Maybe not live, but we could talk about on here, and that's something that I feel like that we're going to have to we're going to be able to capitalize on that this year.
Yeah, you have to catch them across the street in the parking lot or something. But yeah, you can get them. They're the bus brings them back, and it's pretty easy to get a bunch of kids. We got several last year, and I'll get some more this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. So I want to go back to SEC Media Days for just a few moments too. So Lane Kiffin talked about this yesterday and said it was asked of him. I'm not sure exactly who asked this question, but asked Lane about the recruitment of Pooh from Arkansas to Ole Miss, and he had a very clear, concise answer for him. He said it was like NFL free agency, and that's exactly what has become the transfer portal.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, it's just, once they leave a school, declare enter the portal, it's wide open then. And so, yeah, it pretty much is like NFL free agency. And he got a good one there. Pooh's a great linebacker. Arkansas really hated to lose him. Some of the kids that left Arkansas hated to lose, but they weren't too upset. But Pooh was one they really wanted to keep.
Yeah.
But he left, and Ole Miss got a good one there.
Yeah, they didn't. I know it's kind of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I mean, if you've got Xavier and Sori and you've got Chris Paul in the back on that front seven, that does nothing but increase their odds of the run stopping part, because that's what Chris was great at.
Yeah, they got three good linebackers out of the portal, and then Brad Spence, I think, is really going to come on this year. And they got three out of the portal, and there's some good high school linebackers, including the kid from Alabama, and the kid from Harding Academy. So they've got some good linebackers on campus. I really think they're going to be okay at linebacker. I really do. That's a position I think they're going to be okay at.
Yeah, Brett Spence had that big splash last year at the first game of the season. In the fourth quarter, had that pick six, and that kind of cemented his place, at least on special teams, and he was starting to get more time as the season went on. But that was just a guy that he could not afford to keep out last year.
Yeah, and I noticed one of the Georgia players today said that Xavier Sori is a dog, and just bragging on him, and he said he's a dog, and I mean, I believe that. And so we saw Sori in the spring, and they'll bring in Steven Dix and another linebacker from the portal. So they've got three, and I think they're going to be okay there. Everybody's concerned about linebacker, but I think they're going to be okay. Getting Sori was huge, though. That was huge. Let's not make any mistake about that. But I think some of the younger guys, some of the guys that's been there for a while, too, I think they're capable of helping. Some of the guys maybe they haven't played, Sanford and the kid from Texas. But, I just think they're ready to get their – you can't do it till you get your chance to play, and they're going to get their chance this year. And I really like the kids they've got at that linebacker position. It's going to be pretty deep, I think.
Yeah, the only I think the one question mark that I have is more of the interior defensive line. That's one of the big question marks that I have going into this 24 season.
Yeah, getting Saley though from BYU really helped. I mean, from BYU, he really helped. Danny Saley. I love the Ball kid, Cameron Ball. I think he is a stud. I mean, I really do. And then you got, it's not the interior, but Landon Jackson really, him coming back was huge. And I know we're talking about defense. You're talking about interior, and I'm getting in defensive end. But I'm just saying, Landon Jackson returning was huge. So but that helps the interior. When you got a guy like Landon Jackson,
he takes heat off the
he's going to take care of his side. So I mean, the defensive tackle, the interior guy knows. Whoever's playing next to Landon knows Landon's going to take care of his own business. So that frees up. That was huge getting him back. But I think they'll be okay. But one thing they can't get on the interior is a lot of injuries. That would kill them. But they can't withstand a lot of injuries there. But if they can keep the main 4, 5, 6 guys healthy, I think they'll be okay. But it's always a question. That's a hard position, man. I mean, those kids. They get in the portal, they're getting a lot of money, those defensive tackles are, those big kids. I mean, everybody everybody wants the big kid who can run and got academics and can play. I mean, when they get in the portal, it's yeah, quarterbacks get money, cornerbacks, left tackles on offense, but man, those defensive tackles, when you get a man in there and he can run, hey, but Saley really made me feel better about that position.
Yeah, and that was something that Sam. I feel like Sam kind of went back to year 2 a little bit with he's got great guys on the front 22,
Yeah.
but then whenever you start to get to the second string, that's where things kind of drop off a little bit again.
Yeah, it does, but that's where you're hoping, and that's probably hoping. I mean, you're probably if he hit in the portal and everything clicks, they're going to be okay depth wise. But that's everything falling into place, and we all know usually everything doesn't fall into place,
Yeah.
But best case scenario, if they hit on those portal kids, they should be fine and don't get a bunch of injuries. Now, I mean, there again, injuries devastates any team. I know they say next man up stuff, but look, if the next man up was as good as the one playing, he'd be playing. So I mean, that's what they say, next man up. And I get that. That's all they can say. But that's not. I mean, you start having a lot of injuries, it affects you. I don't care who you are. Now, some teams, look, I know Alabama, Texas, some of them can withstand it better than others, but you eventually it takes a toll on any team.
Yeah, it does.
Enough injuries.
And yesterday too, the one thing that I took away from Greg Sankey, whenever he made his opening remarks, was one, SEC Media Days is going to be in Atlanta next year, which it was there 2 years ago. College Football Hall of Fame did an incredible job with the setup that they had, with the Radio Row, where it's kind of above where all the press conferences go on and stuff. It was great. So they're going to go back there next year. The other half of that is he's completely content with the 16 teams that he has in the league. He is not actively recruiting. He is not trying to spear any teams actively as we speak. He is sitting back. He's watching the legal ramifications that go through the courts with Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah.
But I think that they're not only is the SEC, I think the Big 12 is also looking at that as well.
Yeah, I read something today. I don't know if it's true or not because everything you read is not true. But I read where the Big Ten and the SEC did not want Florida State. So we'll see. I mean, there again, that's what I read. I don't even know who wrote it now. Maybe an ESPN piece. I don't know. But as I said, you start believing everything you read, you'll get in trouble. So I don't know about that. But they've been kind of a malcontent down in the ACC, and I think some leagues are turned off by that, and I don't know what if Florida State brings that much to the SEC. Maybe they do, but they don't really fit the Big Ten. It might be a Big 12 if they leave, the ACC. If SEC doesn't want Florida State, I could see them going to Big 12 because really they don't fit what the Big 10 is doing. I mean, wouldn't really make a lot of sense.
No, and honestly, you've got UCF that's also in the Big 12 as well.
Yeah.
So now you've got an anchor into the state of Florida.
Well,
so that'd be a natural crossover.
Yeah, especially if Miami were to jump too, with them. So yeah, that would be a big jump. So I don't know. I tend to believe that the SEC's not beating down the door to get Florida State.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and say they wouldn't take them, like that article pretty much implied. I'm not ready to say that, but I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know that, but I just know that negotiations go on. But I did see that Sankey pretty much, he said, I'm not a recruiter,
Yeah.
He's not a recruiter. So, I mean, he's not beating down I think he feels really good about the 16 teams they've got. You start getting more than 16, you can get to a scheduling issue, and stuff. So you want to keep to a normal number where you can have your rivalry games and stuff. And we'll see how all that plays out.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back here in just about 2 minutes. And this is the first show here live at Torchies and Rogers with the Arkansas football report with Otis Kirk. Holy cow. I'm going to get that eventually. I got a while to do that. So we're going to get that right again. All right, y'all. We'll be back in just a moment.
didn't look like they even wanted to be there.
Yeah.
LSU took control of it and beat them. And that's what could happen to you in the SEC.
Yeah, and so tomorrow Texas makes their inaugural entrance into. Actually, it's kind of a couple of firsts tomorrow because you've got Kalen DeBoer that's going to be with Alabama, changing up the guard in a way. And I'm going to go over something that happened to Nick Saban yesterday.
That's a wild story there.
It was wild.
That's wild, man.
But you've got Kalen DeBoer that's coming in after Nick Saban's been at Alabama for the last 17 years. Crazy to think. Arkansas, it's so funny. Arkansas gets beat by Alabama 17 years in a row. And the one year that Nick finally leaves, they take Arkansas off the schedule. So it's like, I really think that, and I'm not saying that the SEC is out for Arkansas, but the one time that Arkansas might have a decent chance at it, they take them off the schedule. So I was kind of upset about that. But you also have Texas that's making their entrance into the SEC. And, Sark's not unfamiliar with the SEC, with being the defensive coordinator for Nick Saban at Alabama before he did move on to Texas. And I think that they're going to be able to hold their own as far as tomorrow goes.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. If it came down to playing Texas or Alabama, I'll play Texas. And they're supposed to be better than Alabama this year, but I don't care. I mean, if I'm Arkansas, I'm glad I'm not playing Alabama and Georgia. I mean, that's just been automatic L's lately. And if I'm Arkansas, I'm glad I'm not playing Alabama even this year, man.
Yeah, and
Alabama finds a way to beat them every year. I mean, Arkansas had them beat. Want to beat them this year. I think the third year beat them was here.
Yeah.
Or something. Got beat 14-13. Just
had them dead to
everything could go wrong went wrong. Fumble going in for a touchdown and missed the extra point and just a cluster. But I'd rather play at Texas, even though they're probably better than Alabama this year. We'll see. But on paper they are. But I'd still rather play them than Alabama.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. And also, let's face it, the fans get up for that game a lot more than they would for Alabama because, I mean, let's face it, that's Tuck-Fex this week.
Well, Texas is a rivalry. I mean, it's a rival. It's not a fake rival. It's not a trophy game. No. It may turn into a trophy game of some kind, but I mean, it's not. Yeah. It's not about a trophy. It's just about you hate the Texas Longhorns, and that's what that's about. And it's not. It's nothing fake. It's not a created rivalry. It was created because of growing up in the Southwest Conference. You just learned to hate Texas, man. Yeah. And it's a true rival game.
Man, I'm going to tell you what, too. November 16th, that's going to be kind of lit down there. I know it's an 11 a.m. game, but that just gives more people a reason to go drink at 5 a.m. to get ready for this thing.
Yeah, they'll be ready for it. I promise you, Arkansas fans will be ready for that game. Like I said, that's the game that they'll be ready for. I mean, no matter what, and Texas better come prepared to play because they're going to get Arkansas's best shot that day.
Yeah. Mark my words, Otis. Today, July 16th. Mark my words on this. Couple of years ago, LSU came into town, had no reason to play, didn't want to play Arkansas at all. It was cold, it was rainy, and you could tell that nobody on that LSU sideline wanted to be here. And they got drunk. Now, Brett Bielema, that was one of Brett's biggest wins. Mm-hmm. I could see that happening.
Yeah, well, Arkansas is coming off a bye week before Texas, and Sam Pittman has not lost following a bye week. I don't know if fans are aware of that or not, and they've got 2 byes this year.
Yeah,
they've got one before LSU, and they got one before Texas. But Sam Pittman's teams have never lost coming off of a bye week. So think about that. This may be their first for everything. This may be the year there's the first loss, but Arkansas has never lost under Pittman coming off of a bye week.
Yep. So, John McDade today took the podium. He's one of the National College Football Rules liaison, senior, whatever you want to call him. He was talking about this, and you and I have talked about this up in the stands because sometimes games are just too damn long. They are. And there's no reason to have a 4-hour college football game. And the rules committee feels the same way as we do, which is kind of nice because that kind of validates all the griping that we do sometimes, Yeah. And 22% of the I'm trying to think whenever they do the reviews, the official reviews, 22% of those are at least 2.5 minutes long. Yeah. That is an astronomical amount. They're trying to get it down to 10%. They're at 22%.
Yeah.
Now, whenever this year they're implementing the 2-minute, not kind of like the 2-minute drill, 2-minute warning, where you cannot have a challenge, you cannot call, or you can call a timeout to stop the clock, but other than that, the clock's running, and I'm a fan of it.
Yeah. Look, on those reviews, look, you got the play that was called on the field. It should not take 2.5 minutes. I've seen them go 10 minutes in the NBA. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you can't overturn, if you can't see something in 2 minutes to overturn the call, then just go with the play that was called off the field. It's going to even out in the end anyway. Yeah. So I mean, there's no reason to be taking 2.5 or minutes or longer on these reviews. It's just crazy, and and just go with the play on the as it was called on the field. If you can't see something, I mean, if it's an obvious bad call, it should jump out at you. It shouldn't take 2.5 minutes.
No.
So if it's an obvious bad call, you overturn it. If it's not, you have to look. You have to look. You have to keep watching. Then just go with the play as it was called on the field. As I said, those will even out in the long run. I don't think anybody's out to get anybody. It seems like that way at times, and there probably has been a few instances where somebody was, but for the most part, they're refs. They make mistakes, and just go with the play as it was called on the field. No matter if it benefits Arkansas or if it doesn't, really that's neither here nor there because it's in every game. It's not just when Arkansas's playing. But, they need to shorten those for sure.
And it's funny that you say what you just said because over 60% of those reviews that did take just reviews in general, over 60% of those, the call was not overturned.
Well,
I guess that's the most infuriating part of all of that.
The most infuriating part was the Liberty Bowl when Arkansas played Kansas over at Memphis, and they were reviewing them and still getting the call wrong and taking a long time to review them. I mean, that was intentional. I think I really do. I think they screwed Arkansas in that Liberty Bowl. Arkansas ended up winning, but I think the refs were doing everything they could to screw Arkansas that night. But there was 2 or 3 instances. I mean, it was not targeting on the defensive back. It wasn't. No. And the receiver did not fumble, and the ball. He was on the ground. And they reviewed it and still got it wrong. That's what's infuriating. Yeah. They review it, they take forever, and then they still uphold the call on the field. It was just infuriating. I mean, and that was obvious what was going on that night. But I think for the most part, most of the time, it's just missed calls. But those, I think, were intentional.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a Pac-12 crew for that game, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. And so now you can see where they're going. I think they're looking
for
a job.
Went out of business, yeah.
So, and I know that this is kind of a big thing too. I don't know if you've ever delved into this before, but yesterday was the release of NCAA College Football 2024 on PlayStation and Xbox. Within 7 minutes, they melted the servers and it had to reset because there were too many people on at the same flipping time.
Yeah, I saw everybody was wanting to do that, man. I mean, no, I'm not into that, but a lot of people are, and I get it, man.
I think it was kind of cool and interesting that the release was coinciding with SEC Media Days. The official launch is Friday, but if you bought the I guess the up pack, if you will, you were able to download it and start playing it yesterday at 3 p.m. And by 3:07, NASA was sitting there wondering how in the hell they're going to handle this too, because I mean they were melting servers left and right. But I also felt like it was something that they could kind of latch on to, because as far as fans go, because now this is kind of the signal of this is the start of college football season.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Big 12. It wasn't the Big 10. I think the Big 10 is next week. Wasn't ACC Media Days either. It was SEC Media Days that was launched. Mm-hmm. So I think that was intentional.
Yeah, it probably was. And that's SEC still king. And I mean, that's not because I'm saying that because Arkansas is in. It just is. I mean, they have the most people drafted, most kids drafted. They're just national champion comes from there a lot of times. It's the king of sports, not just football. We're talking football, but it's definitely the king of football.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the only thing that they do not dwarf would be the NFL. And I think at this point, with the way that college realignment's happening, it seems like that they're trying to knock on the NFL's door. The only thing that they can't get right is the timing with the games and how long they are. But if they get that down, and if they have a game where they can pencil in and say, you know what, I know this thing's going to only be 3 hours, that's when it's going to really start to take hold. And I think that the NFL is going to start to look at it and say, oh, crap, because, I mean, you're dealing with the antitrust lawsuit that they're going to have to pay an exorbitant amount of money. And college football just keeps rolling.
Yeah, I mean, college football is really, it's not going to get any less excited about. I mean, from the people. I mean, it's the king of sports right now. I mean, outside of the NFL, but the college football's got a lot of good things going for it right now.
Yeah, they do. So before we get out of here, we were kind of teasing this a little bit ago. So yesterday, Nick Saban enters the Omni Hotel, comes down from his room. First time he's not a sitting coach in the SEC in 17 years. Now, you, me, I mean, people that don't necessarily follow college football very closely, when you see Nick Saban walk up to you, it may not be a godlike experience like it was 2 years ago in Atlanta whenever he came up to the podium. I kid you not. It was raining cats and dogs. And when he stepped up to the podium, it was like somebody shut a faucet off. And, you know, he has that type of aura around him. For him to come down from his hotel room, the guy hasn't had to wear a credential.
Yeah.
And forgets it, doesn't bring it with him. And somebody had, I'm going to say it, the cojones to stop him and not let him into the press area, which completely blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, if you don't know who Nick Saban is, you probably wonder why they got you doing that job there. And I mean,
that is so true.
Yeah. And if anybody could get in without a credential, it'd be Nick Saban.
But the funny thing about it was he had to go back up to his room. He had to go grab the credential. Then they let him in. It was like, this is a formality at this point. Why would you do this to Nick Saban of all people?
Yeah. I guess the guy was doing his job, but I mean, that's crazy.
I don't know.
Crazy story.
Okay, so do you think the guy got a raise or a demotion after that one?
I wonder what he got at the time. I wonder if Saban, I wonder what Saban said to him, not what was printed, but what was really said to him. That's what I'd like to know.
Giving him a little bit of the McElroy treatment.
Yeah.
It was so funny because, you know, Greg McElroy was on set with Nick for a little bit yesterday. And Greg was talking a little bit about how practices used to be. And the first thing I saw Nick do was he was kind of looking towards the camera a little bit. And he does this whole little number. He kind of turns his head and cocks his head a little bit. And then just starts intently watching what Greg's about to say. Each word. Thinking, if this kid screws up, I'm going to let him know about it. It was so funny. And then I guess Greg realizes, hey, you know, Nick's watching everything I'm about to say. And the kid, not a kid anymore, but his face gets about as red as that damn good Torchy's sign up there. And he realized, oh, crap, my coach is still watching me.
Yeah, Saban's a control freak, so he's never going to let anything go. I mean, he'll always be watching. He's always watching.
He always is. Oh, Otis, we're going to wrap this up, man. I want to thank you for coming out tonight and everybody over here at Torchy's as well. Rob and Marcus have really hooked us up with some food. Really appreciate everything that they've done. Again, this is kind of a test run for us and see how everything kind of goes. And then we'll definitely make sure you guys come back out. And we're going to announce it. It's either going to be a Thursday or a Wednesday night. And it'll be at 7 o'clock every night. The only reason why we're kind of back and forth on some of these nights, it's concert season. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be over here whenever concert season's going on.
Right.
And we have to try to do a show with this place completely packed out too.
Yeah, it's definitely concert season, and you got practice at night, press conferences stuff. So we'll play that by ear, and see. But probably Thursday night's probably a safe bet, but I don't know that. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, like you said, that's just from a press conference standpoint. From the concerts, it's maybe a different story.
Yeah, they get quite a lot of people over here. My daughter, we got her Nile Horn tickets for her birthday last year. And
Who? What tickets?
is a singer. His name's Niall Horn. He was on The Voice, and he's also used to be with One Direction before they split up. And it's one of my kiddos' favorite singers.
Okay.
And so we're going over to the concert tomorrow night. Now, I'm pretty sure that it is going to be just as loud as elementary school day at Bud Walton Arena was. That was ridiculous. I looked at Dudley. Dudley and I were sitting as far away as you and I are, and I couldn't hear a flipping word he said. It was because every time anybody made a basket, didn't matter which side of the ball it was, those kids were screaming because they were having fun.
Elementary day for basketball. I've been there before. Yeah, it's loud. It's very loud.
Gosh, it does.
Yeah.
So
I was there when they played UCA a couple of years ago. Yeah, it was loud.
I think that tomorrow night's concert is going to be kind of around the same decibel level because there's going to be it's definitely for the younger crowd. It's not for the crowd of you and me, for instance. So, but it's going to be fun and we're going to enjoy it. So,
yeah. Oh, I watched The Voice, so I'm sure I remember Niall. If I saw him, I'm sure I remember. I hardly ever miss a version of Niall of The Voice.
Yeah. So I want to thank again Torchies for everything that they're doing for Hogville as well, and make sure to come up here whenever we have our live shows. Come up, say hey to us for just a second. I promise we will not charge for autographs or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Y'all take care and have a great night.